And if you notice, all of these things are gentle and slow. Those are the ways that we signal to our nervous system that we're safe. Hey Mama, and welcome to the Christian Mom Reset. I'm your host, Kristen, women's minister, homeschooling boy mom ×3, and just like you, striving to walk closely with God while balancing all the things. If you're looking to heal from spiritual depletion, grow in your faith, and walk intimately with God right now in the messy middle of motherhood, then you're in the right place. Get ready to go deep, listen closely for God's voice, and expect transformation, because that is what our God can do. So whether you're folding laundry or enjoying a kid-free car ride, let's hit that reset button together. You ready? Let's go. As I'm sure you know, living in survival mode can feel incredibly exhausting. Your body is running on constant cortisol and other stress hormones, and you can find yourself either in fight, flight, or freeze. Fight or flight feels reactive, energetic, wired, like losing your temper easily or always rushing to get things done even though there is no rush. And freeze, or shutdown mode, can feel heavy, numb, unmotivating. It's a collapse response. It's your body trying to conserve energy after prolonged stress. So fight or flight can feel like anxiety, whereas freeze, or dorsal vagal shutdown, feels like everything is dull. So how does one get into survival mode? Well, survival mode happens when we perceive danger and go through physical and mental changes in order to survive that danger. It's when our nervous system shifts, and it's instinctual. Listen to that. It's instinctual. You don't have a choice. It's your nervous system shifting out of regulation and into fight, flight, or freeze. And it's actually really useful to us because God created our bodies perfectly. He didn't forget anything. He didn't add anything that's not supposed to be there. And everything has a function and a purpose. So survival mode is not this inherently bad thing. It's important to remember that. But survival mode becomes an issue for us when it gets prolonged, when it becomes chronic. Instead of it lasting a short amount of time and then your nervous system going back to a regulated state, like, for example, seeing a rabid dog barking at you, right? And you see that dog, you're walking down the sidewalk, I do not want to get bit by that dog, so you run away so you don't get bit. You get into a state of fight or flight in order to keep you safe. You run away, you stay safe, and that's a proper fight or flight response. And then after you're away from that rabid dog, you feel safe and your body starts moving back toward regulation. Your heartbeat slows down, you're not sweating anymore, your blood pressure goes down, like you go back to homeostasis. But survival mode can become a way of being for us if we don't ever send those safety signals back to our body, to our nervous system. And that's when we start to live in a constant state of stress and overwhelm, even with simple daily tasks, because our nervous system is still perceiving everything as a threat. It didn't get the memo that you're safe now. And there's a lot that goes into that we will not be unpacking here today. There is simply not enough time, but it's enough to be aware right now that when you're in a constant state of survival mode, that means your body and your mind are working 24/7 to keep you safe. They are in constant overdrive. And we all know that even our iPhones, with the amazing batteries that they have, still need to be plugged in and recharged from time to time, because if they don't, it's not going to do what you want it to do. It's going to shut down when it's out of battery. And it's the same way with us. That's why it's so important to understand what survival mode looks like, because awareness is half the battle. And it's also important to have some tools to know how to work toward getting back to that regulated state so that you don't get stuck living in survival mode. Because our nervous system does not speak English or Spanish or French or Mandarin Chinese or sign language. It speaks the language of sensations. And if the signals that it's getting are communicating that it's not safe, then it's going to stay stuck surviving. So what are the signs? How do you know if you are living in survival mode? Well, here are some of them. Number one, and here's a pretty obvious one. You're using dissociation as a coping tool. Dissociation is your nervous system trying to protect you from what it perceives as being too much for you to handle, so it avoids it. And it works for a little while. It may even make you feel better, but it always makes things worse in the end because it reinforces what your subconscious believes, that the threat you're running from is indeed too much and you should avoid it. So what does dissociation look like? Here are some examples for a Christian mom of how it might manifest in your life, in your day-to-day. You are physically there, but mentally checked out. You're not living in the moment. You participate in everything, but it's almost an out-of-body experience. Similarly, you're running on autopilot. You cook dinner, you do the bath, you do the bedtime routine, you pray, but you're not emotionally engaging, and you might even have trouble remembering what happened that day because you were just going through the motions of everything. Next can be maybe you read the Bible and you pray for yourself, for your own times with God, but it just doesn't connect. And this isn't a one-off thing. This is every day you are spending time with God and you don't know why, but it's just not working. You're not feeling it. You can't go deep. It's boring. It's numb. If that's your constant experience, because that of course happens sometimes, but if that's your constant experience, that might be a sign that survival mode is somewhere in your midst. And lastly, you engage in scrolling on your phone and say that it'll just be for a minute. We all know how that goes. But then you look up and 40 minutes have passed. Dissociation has a I'm far away, not present with you vibe to it. Okay, what else? What are other signs? Another sign that you could be in survival mode is that your digestion is off. Maybe it's a little sluggish. When you are in survival mode, your body is prioritizing survival, and digestion is not one of those things that it prioritizes, so it can get thrown off. Maybe you're getting a lot of sleep, but you never get enough sleep to feel refreshed, and you're just feeling fatigued and tired all the time, no matter what you do, for really no good reason. Perhaps there is brain fog going on for you. You have trouble with recall, like words or names. You have to pause and think about it for a second, or you can't even remember at all, or you have trouble with memory, that you just don't even remember things happening. Another sign is that small problems feel huge. And that's because your window of tolerance has shrunk, and the things that would normally not set you off now go outside your window of tolerance and they do set you off. Another sign is mood swings, and obviously that can mean other things too, but in the same vein of it not being normal for you, mood swings can be a sign of being in survival mode. And then lastly, your body and your health just feel off. Like maybe you find yourself bloated more often than you're used to, or you have constant headaches, fatigue. Maybe you've developed food intolerances. There's just things going on with your physiology that aren't right. And then there are long-term consequences to operating in survival mode for extended periods of time. Some of those are a weakened immune system or higher odds of developing a chronic disease. It can create hormonal imbalances in your body that drastically affect your health and well-being, and it can lead to mental disorders such as anxiety and depression, just to name a few. Of course, there are other ones that it can lead to also. And lastly, another long-term effect is that it can lead to unhealthy coping mechanisms like substance abuse or eating disorders, because you're trying to find a way to avoid what is putting you in survival mode. So you're numbing out with these other things, or you're trying to find control wherever you can. But Mama, I want you to hear this and hear this loud. God is so good. He has created our brains to be able to rewire themselves. It's called neuroplasticity, and it works by experiencing something different than it has before, and through experiencing it often enough, new neural pathways are carved, and it becomes easier and more natural for your brain to take those new pathways than to take the old ones. And this is good news. It's very good news. It means that nothing is permanent, and growth and change are always an option. God calls us to renew our minds, and He gives us ways to do that. Now, for thinking about the neural pathways, I want you to imagine this. When I go out to watch the sunrise in the morning, which I haven't done in a while, but I do plan on picking back up this week. When I go out, normally I pace to pray because I realize that if I'm just sitting there, it's kind of hard to get the juices flowing. So I have become accustomed to pacing back and forth in my backyard, and I have done it enough times that there is now this line in the grass, and we rent right now, so I'm a little scared of that line, but thankfully it's not like this line of just dirt. There's still grass there, but you can tell that someone has been walking there. And what happens in your brain when you take the same path, when you do the same action or think the same thought, whether positive or negative, again and again and again, it starts carving this path. And eventually that path becomes paved and the path that it normally takes instead of the other way, whether the other way is better or worse, depending on what you're doing. Neuroplasticity works through repetition. Each time we purposefully choose something that our subconscious or our nervous system wouldn't automatically choose, we're giving our brain new information and suggesting to it a new perspective that perhaps we can perceive that we are safe in our given circumstances. For example, say that a rabid dog is back, but he's behind a fence. Your body is automatically going to remember that the dog is unsafe and it's going to go into fight or flight. But if you see that you are safe because there's a fence between you and that dog, then you can take a deep breath, maybe put your hand on your heart and talk to yourself for a moment. Reassure yourself that it is safe to walk through this part of the neighborhood because there's no way the dog can get you. It's behind a fence, a good fence, a tall fence. It's not going to jump over it. It's not going to break it down. If you do that, then you're giving your nervous system and mind new information to work with. And the more often you give it that information, the more normalized and accepted it becomes until it becomes the standard. And you can walk past that barking dog without a second thought because you know and believe that it is now a non-issue. We get to that point of perceiving safety instead of danger when there really is no danger through the use of safety signals. And the first safety signal I'd encourage you to engage in is curiosity. Choose curiosity over fear. When something comes up, be curious. Don't just shut it down. Don't just take it as the standard. Invite curiosity into the picture. And you want to practice curiosity instead of problem solving or doing research, which I am absolutely so guilty of, because when we focus on finding that solution, what we're telling our nervous system is that we're still not safe. We haven't arrived at safety yet. We're still trying to figure out how to get there. So it keeps running the same programs it's learned to run because it perceives that there is still danger that we need to avoid. Curiosity, on the other hand, invites safety. It helps you in your subconscious to feel seen and heard and understood because it's observation without judgment, without pressure. Here's a practical example. When you hunch over the counter or get cozy on the couch or in your bed, we all do it, and get ready to scroll on your phone, notice that you might be engaging in behavior that causes you to dissociate. Mindless scrolling, or honestly, even mindful scrolling for that matter, if it's unnecessary or if it's excessive, is a coping mechanism when you're stressed or overwhelmed. It's avoiding, it's escapism. But what it tells your nervous system is, you're right, we aren't safe. Let's continue to avoid that feeling or that subject because it's not safe. And let's do the things that make us feel better instead. That's what you're saying to your nervous system. That's what you're reinforcing. And now, my friend, you're stuck in that loop and continue in survival mode. Here's what you want to do instead. First, notice the sensations in your body. Notice the thoughts passing through your mind. How long can you sit with them? Is there a tightness in your chest? Is there an uneasy feeling in your belly? Do your hands or feet feel warm or cold? Do you feel dizzy? What is your body feeling? And then what thoughts are going through your mind? How long can you create space to just sit with those feelings and those sensations, to just witness them? Let them be seen. Next, you want to bring curiosity to them and just observe. And then quietly show your nervous system that safety is available, even if it's small. You can choose a safety signal and practice it when you notice you crave to dissociate. And gosh, how often do we crave that very thing? My favorite safety signal currently is taking deep breaths while my eyes are closed and my hand is over my heart. And maybe I'll also whisper something to myself. I definitely have whispered to myself before, I am safe, or you are safe, if I feel like I need to phrase it that way. Some other options for safety signals can be to gently shake out your limbs or shake out your whole body, like shake it off style. You can gently massage around your jaw and ears. There is so much tension and so much pressure there that we often don't even realize. You can slowly roll your shoulders or slowly look around the room you're in and bring your attention to what you see. And you want to spend a couple of seconds letting your eyes rest on each thing before you move on to the next object. Or you can soften your face, relax your eyebrows, release the tension from your lips, loosen your jaw. Sometimes when I need to soften my face, I kind of have to do a squishy thing and move my face around in a circular motion and then just totally try and relax. And lastly, there's so many other things besides this, but my last idea for you is you can bring gentle touch to your body. Put both feet on the ground, sit down or stand up, whatever feels better for you. And you can soothe yourself by giving yourself a big hug and gently rubbing your fingers against your arms, or gently applying pressure from your head down or your feet up, whatever feels best to you. Just letting your body know that you are present, you are here, you are in your body and not just in your mind. And if you notice, all of these things are gentle and slow. Those are the ways that we signal to our nervous system that we're safe. Because the opposite, fight or flight, is fast and rushed and tense. So we don't want to do anything that's going to be like that. We want to show our bodies that we have the opportunity to be slow because there is no danger and we don't have to worry. So we've talked about what survival mode is, some of the consequences of doing life in survival mode, and a few first steps, so to speak, for how to invite safety back to your body and start moving back toward a regulated state. And let me encourage you that there is no formula or no fixed timeline for getting out of survival mode. Everyone is different and their resources and circumstances are different. So please don't compare yourself to anyone else out there. I myself am on a journey out of survival mode right now because of now 3 months of ongoing illness in our house. It's wild. And several other unforeseen stressors. I found myself dissociating, eating poorly, feeling fatigued and unmotivated and dull just all the time craving more sugar. And honestly, it needs to be said that being in survival mode happens to us way more often than we realize, or maybe would care to admit, especially because we can glorify hustle culture and not prioritize rest, which is actually another sign of survival mode that I am absolutely guilty of. But it's just a way that our body knows how to keep us safe, survival mode. And that's what our bodies will always default to, safety. And familiarity feels safe, even if it's not what's best. That's why we go back to old habits, even though we know they're not helping us. And on that note, I think for a mom who has kids at home, especially little kids, where there is constant noise and constant stimulation. I remember this night a couple of days ago, there was one child who was like screaming playfully, but it was very, very loud and overwhelming. And there was another child who had this light up toy and was just putting it in my face. And my husband laughed and was like, "What's your choice? Either lights in your face or loud noises in your ear. You don't have any other option." And it's true. Sometimes we just can't escape the stimulation in our house because that's just the stage of life we're in. And I feel like it's even harder for Christian moms because they have in their mind, I need to do this right. I need to do this God's way. I want to do this God's way. I want to be righteous. What is the righteous way of parenting and dealing with the situation and living my life and living out my discipleship and my marriage and running my home and all of these things? It's a lot. And so going into survival mode can almost be second nature. And if that's you, I want to encourage you, please don't feel guilty. Please don't feel ashamed. Know that your body is doing its best. It's doing its absolute best to take care of you in the way that it knows how. And you, being the leader, now have information and tools to be able to help your body take care of you in a way that is more productive and that aligns with your Christian values and with just your values as a person in general. And it's going to take time to do that, but it's okay. There is a lot of grace, and you will figure it out. If you are purposeful in working on this, you go to God, you get help, you don't give up, it will get figured out. So yes, through a series of unfortunate events, I have found myself in survival mode. And it took me, honestly, 2 or 3 weeks to even have the motivation to do something about it after I realized that I was in survival mode. But right now, I am doing something about it. I have the motivation now. I have worked my way up toward it. And because I've dealt with this before and I've spent time learning about these things, I know what to do. So right now, I am doing a 2-week challenge to coach myself out of survival mode. And I'm documenting all of it on my Instagram account. So go follow me at I am Kristen Lambert on Instagram if you want to follow along and even get ideas for how to help yourself get back to a regulated state. And if you do find yourself in survival mode and you don't know what to do about it, please feel free to DM me. I'd be more than happy to chat and give you encouragement and give you ideas. Mama, I hope this episode has truly blessed, equipped, and encouraged you. And I will leave you with this passage of scripture. The Bible says in James 4:8, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." So keep showing up because his presence is where the reset begins. Thank you for listening to the Christian Mom Reset and spending time with me today. If this episode encouraged you or was helpful in any way, would you do me one quick favor? I could really use your help getting the message out to other Christian mamas that there is still hope for emotional intimacy with God. The best way to help is by leaving a review. It tells the podcast algorithm to push this content to more moms like you searching for Christ-centered encouragement. And if you ever want to reach out, ask a question, or share how God is moving in your own motherhood, I would love to connect with you. You can email me at thechristianmomreset@gmail.com. It would truly be a joy to hear from you.